Can you believe we're already a third of the way through 2024? Wow, is it just me or is it moving by faster than normal? I don't know, maybe there's just a lot of things going on, like what I'm going to read in May. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another TBR video, this time for the month of May of 2024. Just amazed at how fast this year is just flying by. And it's just kind of a new year for me because the way that I usually do this, guys, is I have this stuff kind of mapped out months and months and months in advance. But I just solidified this list today, literally right before I decided to come on here, because I am wide open this year. I've decided I'm just going to, not really tie myself down to a major schedule, not really join any major read-alongs or anything like that. So I'm a little more open than usual. But since I am starting to maybe come outside of this reading slump that I was kind of going through, and I want to thank ℓ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤 for that, because him and Blake Crouch really have single-handedly pulled me out of that reading slump. But yeah, I feel like I can get some fantasy back on this list now. I know that's what most of the viewers here are a fan of, so I think you should be happy with most of this list, but there are going to be some surprises on it, and that is due to some collaborations that I have planned, and we're going to kind of get into that. Now, this is the order that I'm hoping to read them in May, but it always can and will change, so I never say, hey, for sure this is the way that I'm going to do it, but I try to put them in the order that I'm going to read them in. Spoiler warning before I start this, because I am going to be reading the back flap of the books here. So if you haven't, I guess if you consider the back flap a spoiler, hey, watch out. I'll put the timestamps for each book below if you want to go ahead and skip to the next one. But I do proofread these to make sure that I'm not ruining anything for you guys, because I'm afraid to give people Lord of the Rings spoilers, all these years later. So I think you're in safe hands here. Let's go ahead and move along to book number 1. It's kind of a repeat. I've kind of been pushing it down the road since March because of said reading slump. That's going to be Disquiet Gods by Christopher Rocchia. With this, is more just, I wanted to make sure I was in a good frame of mind before I started studying a book, because I feel like they do consume a lot of brain power, because I feel like you do have to think a lot while you read these books, or at least I do. I like to chew my food when it comes to Sun Eater books, because I feel like there's a lot of thought put into them, and it requires a lot of thought to get through them, at least for me. When I hear people blowing through these books really, really quick, I'm just amazed. I think back to Demon of White. It took me 3 weeks to read. I think that was the longest one. But, I don't think that the last couple were really too much faster. So I like to take my time with these, but I need to make sure that I was out of that reading slump first before I decide to give this a go, because the last thing I want to do it is read it and just feel like I'm slumping in the middle of reading it. I've already kind of done the synopsis for this one a couple of times. So go back to the March TBR video if you want to know what Disquiet Gods is about. Again, it's book number 6 in the Sun Eater. So if you haven't read that series yet, I've done many videos, many collaborations about Sun Eater, and talked with the author, Christopher Rocchia, on the channel several times. So I feel like you by now that I think you guys should read the series. But yes, start with book number 1, which is Empire of Silence. And I'd have a why you should read video up for that about, Sun Eater, if you're looking to get into it and you're not quite sure what it is about. But I do recommend it. But I'm not going to go through the synopsis of Disquiet Gods again. Something that I'm really excited is going to be happening is this one has been majorly requested. Since I started the channel, I had people asking if I was going to do this, and I said I didn't know. It just got to the point where I'm like, okay, the clamoring is too loud. I feel like it's time for me to finally do it, guys. I'm going to hop on the back of that turtle, and I'm not talking about Mothra and the turtle. I'm talking about Terry Pratchett's turtle, because, guys, I'm finally going to be starting Discworld with the color of magic. I always want to say the color of light, because book 2 I think is a light fantastic, but the color of magic. So for years I've been hearing, hey, you need to read Discworld. Now that I'm starting it, they're like, hey, you need to read it in the order that I tell you to. So I know a lot of people are just gruntled that I'm starting with color of magic. And here's the thing, guys, if I don't like this book, it's not going to say, well, I'm not reading any more Discworld. I understand a lot of people say this is not representative as a whole of what Discworld is. But to me, guys, I like to read in publication order. That's just how it works. So I've been told you can pick these books up in pretty much any order and have a good time with them. And I know there are several that you would consider like different arcs or series within the main series. But again, I didn't want to get into messed up reading orders right away, because there's people like start with Light Fantastic, start with Guards Guard, start with more. I'm like, I'm going to start with where Terry Pratchett told me to start, and that's with the color of magic. So I am excited to do it, but like I said, now people are just upset about the reading order. But you know what? This is the way it's going to be. This is the way I'm going to be. I'm mean like that. I like to read stuff in publication order. Blame the bald booktuber. He's got me really, really standoffish now about reading stuff in publication order. This is no different. But what is the color of magic about? Now, in a divinely and recognizably twisted alternate dimension, supported on the back of a giant turtle, a gleeful, explosive, and wickedly eccentric expedition sets out. The well-meaning but remarkably inept wizard Rincewind encounters something hitherto unknown in the Discworld: a tourist. Twoflower has arrived, luggage by his side, to take in the sights, and unfortunately has cast his lot in with a most inappropriate tour guide. A decision that could result in Twoflower becoming not only Discworld's first visitor from elsewhere, but quite possibly, portentously, its very last. And of course, he's brought his luggage along, which has a mind of its own and teeth. That sounds very weird, you guys. And the thing is, like, people know how much I love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and you can look at the comments of my old Hitchhikers videos. It's just people saying you got to read Pratchett next, because I think that if you like the humor in Hitchhiker, I think you'd really like the humor in Discworld. So we're going to find out. I've never read a Terry Pratchett book. I watched the Good Omens television series, which I don't think really counts. And I guess that's Taff Neil Gaiman as well. But I've never actually read Pratchett, and the guy has an incredible reputation amongst the fantasy community. So yeah, it felt like only a matter of time. It's intimidating when you see, wow, there's 41 books in the series, but again, people were saying they're very much standalone-ish, or that has like the mini-series arcs in it, like a Legend of Drizzt or like a Realm of the Eldlings. I'm cool with that. I can kind of go about it at my own pace, and that's why I decided I'm finally going to do it. I've been putting that one off for far too long, but the giant turtle, I'll be finding out what this is all about here very soon, and I hope some of you will join me. If some of you have been putting off joining on reading of Discworld and you want to join me, hey, I would love to have you. There's already a group, on the Discord where you can talk about Discworld stuff, and maybe I'll start an actual read along. I don't know. I don't like to start read alongs anymore, because then people are like, well, when are we doing the next one? And I don't have that planned. Like I said, my schedule's just kind of wide open this year. But hey, there is a Discworld thread on the Discord if you want to join. There, I should have left it at that. What is the constant on this channel? Well, it is me being a constant reader of all things Stephen King, and he does have a new collection coming out in May. And yes, I will be reading You Like It Darker. It's another short story collection. This one, I usually I don't review these on the channel, but I have a collaboration on deck, hopefully. I haven't really gotten into the details, but Jaime Fuego over at the Horror Show, he did say he's interested in us doing some kind of crossover collab. I'm thinking maybe we can do half of these. There's 12 stories in here, so maybe we can do like a half dozen on my channel and a half dozen over on Hail to Stephen King, which is like the thing for all things Stephen King. If you guys want to know anything about Stephen King book, Jaime is your man. He makes me look like a complete novice when it comes to King and his knowledge, and there's very much my side, and I cannot wait to collaborate with him on a new release for Stephen King, even if it is one that, a little different than usual, because it is when we talk about short stories. But I think it'll be a fun conversation because, hey, it's a new King book. At his age, we have no idea how many times we're going to get to do this, but we're very excited to be collaborating, and I can't wait. I mean, it's a great honor for me. Like I said, before I was even doing this, I was watching Jaime and the Horror Show, so it's really cool for me to feel like full circle to be talking a new Stephen King book with Jaime on release day. But what is You Like It Darker about? I don't think there's a real synopsis for this, since it is 12 different stories, but it says it's a collection of 12 stories that delve into the darker part of life, both metaphorical and literal. These are stories about fate, mortality, luck, and the folds in reality where anything can happen. Two Talented Bastards explores the long-hidden secret of how the eponymous gentlemen got their skills. In Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream, a brief and unprecedented psychic flash upends dozens of lives, Danny's most catastrophically. In Rattlesnakes, a sequel to Cujo, a grieving widower travels to Florida for respite, and instead receives an unexpected inheritance with major strings attached. In The Dreamers, a taciturn Vietnam vet answers a job ad and learns that there are some corners of the universe best left unexplored. The Answer Man asks if prescience is good luck or bad, and reminds us that life marked by unbearable tragedy can still be meaningful. Each of these stories holds its own thrills, joys, and mysteries. You like it darker? Well, as Stephen King says, fine. So do I. So Stephen King's short story collections are always hit or miss with most people. I always like them because they're good stories, but the thing with me, I hate about short stories right when they're getting good. I feel like they end, and that's usually the case with these. But I got to think back to like Nightmares and Dreamscapes was the last one that just really, really hit. Obviously, I'm the most excited for the Cujo sequel. King hasn't done a lot of sequels, He's done Dr. Sleep and Dark Tower sequels, obviously. That's it, really. So I felt like Later was kind of I wouldn't say as much of like a sequel to it as it was kind of almost like an epilogue, because it has some throwbacks to it in there. But again, you're hitting one of the heavy hitters here. To me, Cujo is one of the heavy hitters, because I think what's a more recognizable pop culture term? Anytime you hear an ugly, mean dog, what is it? Shut up, Cujo. So I'm excited to see what this actual sequel can be. But anyway, anytime there's a new Stephen King story, I'm very, very interested, especially if it is lacking Holly, because I'm a little tired of Holly, and that's just my own personal hot take. If you guys are still all in on Holly, great. Anyways, let's go ahead and move along, guys. One that I started a few months ago was Son of the Black Sword. So I'll be continuing with book 2 in that series, the Saga of the Forgotten Warrior. This is House of Assassins. It's got a really glossy cover, so I'm pretty sure I'm just going to blind you with it. Really beautiful books, but yeah, very hard to see. But this series, really cool so far. I mean, the first book was really awesome. I felt like a nice mix of Stormlight Archive meets Malazan, which is a compliment every way that I can think of. It's a really, really cool idea. And I hated the way that it really did cliffhanger, because I knew I wasn't going to be getting to book 2 right away. But the series is going to be getting complete this fall. I think Larry tweeted out October, November, the final book will be released. So that's really, really awesome. If you are looking to jump on now like I am, I'm trying to do like one every other month or so I can read the last book, book 5, on release day. But as for House of Assassins, heard a lot of good things about this one. So what is it about? Well, Ashok Vidal was once a member of the highest caste in all of Locke. As a protector, he devoted his life to upholding the law, rooting out those who still practice the old ways, and delivering swift justice with his ancestor blade ℙ𝕤𝕤𝕤. His brutality was legendary and celebrated, but after learning that his life had been a lie, he found himself casteless, nothing more than an unwitting pawn in a political game, and he began a campaign of rebellion, war, and destruction unlike any Locke had ever seen. Thera had spent her life training for combat until she was struck by lightning. From that day forward, she heard the Voice. A reluctant prophet with the power to see into the future, she fought with the rebellions in the company of men known as the Sons of the Black Sword, until a shape-shifting wizard speared her away. He now holds her prisoner in the House of Assassins. But there is much more at risk in the continent of Locke. Strange forces are working behind the scenes. Ashok and the Sons of the Black Sword are caught up in a game they do not fully understand. With powerful forces allied against them, he no longer knows what to believe, and is beginning to think perhaps the gods really do exist. So he's warned them to stay out of their way, and they would do well to listen. Guys, that first book has some of the best action scenes I'd ever seen in fantasy. And I say he finally feels like he found that fine line, because when I talked to Blake Crouch, a lot of people asked, would he ever write a fantasy book? Said he didn't really see a way to make a fantasy book a thriller. I think Larry's found it out, because it's like he's got his character, he's got his lore, he's got his building up the world and stuff, but it still seems just so fast-paced, and the way that he writes action is just amazing. Part 1 where Ashok's fighting like 12 people, and it's just so well written. You can just see this fight in your head. It's just so good. And I mean, this is a guy that does these Monster Hunter books. Are supposed to be a lot like that. So you can say, hey, cool, he really can write action. Great. So that's just amazing, fast-paced book. And I'm excited to continue with that world, because like I said, I've heard a lot of people say these books just get better and better as they go along. And yeah, excited to continue. Lastly, this is one a little out of my comfort zone. And what I mean by that, guys, is it's sci-fi. So I mean, I will read sci-fi. But it was one that was never even on my radar. I never even heard of it when it came up. Brian over at BellTube messaged me, and he said, hey, I'm putting together like this old geezers club of readers. And what he means by that is this elder statesman book 2, the 40 to mid-40s kind of crowd. I'm counting Philip in that group, because he tells me he's his real age. I don't believe him. But anyhow, I digress. So Ryan tells me we're going to start in this club, and we want you to be a part of it. Would you do that? Where basically what we'll do is the 4 of us will read a book together, and then we'll have a group collaboration to talk about that book on one of our channels, like once a quarter. I said, sure, that could be fun. I figured maybe I could kind of finagle them into reading something that I'd already had on my schedule or something like that, but not so much, because we wanted something that all 4 of us had not read yet. Because everything that kept coming up, everyone was like, either one person's already read it, or one person had tried to read it and didn't like it. So it was one of those things where we said, hey, let's find a nice compromise here. And the one that we landed on is something called The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez. I know nothing about this author. I know nothing about this book. I do see that there's a lot of people that I follow on Goodreads who have actually read it and reviewed it and said good things about it. And it's kind of mixed a little bit. There's some people some of my patrons have told me, no, boss, it wasn't for me. So I don't know where I'll fall on it, but I'm just glad that we define a book that all four of us have not read, and I don't know whose idea this one originally was, but I'm very much looking forward to that collaboration, because anytime I could talk to Philip and Brian at BellTube, and I'm sorry, the fourth person is John over at Talking Story. I don't know. I think we did come up with a name for this. I think it's ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤. I'm not even sure. I'm not sure. You have to check with Brian on that one. We were coming up with some names, and a lot of them we felt like, it might be gimmick infringement. I'm pretty sure these other people already use a name similar to it. So again, the name is pending change, but that is the group as of now. And I think I've been given the rights to the first collaboration, and we'll be talking about the Vanished Birds, I guess, sometime in June, because that's when we're supposed to be reading this, and I think I will just start at the end of this month, given that everything else goes smoothly. But what is the Vanished Birds about? I don't have a physical copy yet. I've still got to get one before then. But Naya Imani is a woman out of place and outside of time. Decades of travel through the stars are condensed into mere months for her, though the years continue to march steadily onward for everyone else she has ever known. Her friends have aged past her, and all she has left is her work. Alone and adrift, she lives only for the next paycheck, until the day she meets a mysterious boy fallen from the sky. The scarred child does not speak. His only form of communication is the beautiful and haunting music he plays on an old wooden flute. Captured by his songs and their strange immediate connection, Naya decides to take the boy in, and over the years of starlit travel, they discover in each other things they lack. For him, a home, a place of love and safety. For her, an anchor to the world outside of herself. And for both of them, a family. But Naya is not the only one who wants the boy. The past hungers for him, and when it catches up, it threatens to tear this makeshift family apart. So, hey, cool. A nice little story among the stars. It sounds like, really honestly, it had me, when I read the synopsis, it said a coming-of-age space opera. I said, you got me. You know, coming of age is obviously my kryptonite on all these things. But again, if this is a book's recommended by one of those three gentlemen, I'm sure it's going to be something that I enjoy. We do seem to like similar things, and I'm excited to do it. The other option was going to be Boys in the Valley, I think, but Philip, not very much of a horror fan, so we decided, well, let's find something that's not horror, because Philip was saying that he might get scared or something like that. I mean, gotta take it easy on the old man. You never do know, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. But guys, that is the plans really for the month of May. I don't have a if time this month because, like I said, I feel like 31 days in May, and I feel like Disquiet Gods may take about 20 of them. I don't know. We'll see how things do go here. But yeah, there's some heavy things on here. Discworld's pretty light, I think. So we'll probably get through some of these things rather rapidly. But I'm excited to do a lot of these new things, and I'm liking that it has so many options now that I haven't had in previous months. Again, I won't lie to you guys, it scares the hell out of me having no plan of what I'm reading next month. It's just not my style. But I do like this openness and being able to not really commit to anything until the time does come when I turn the camera on to record these videos. But guys, what do you have planned to read in the month of May? You're going to join me for any of these? I would love to have you jump on the Discord. We'd love to chat you up and talk about any of these books you're checking out. Plenty of time for you to catch up with me on the Larry Correa series, The Son of the Black Sword. It's a really good book. Check it out if you haven't yet. And I would love to have you along. So drop in the comments, guys. Let me know what you're going to be reading, and I will talk to you there.